What's going on, guys? So, I wanted to talk about something simple, something that I kind of started remembering for some reason, and I just wanted to share it with you guys so you can also have a bit of an epiphany of, oh, wow, I completely forgot that was a thing. And what I want to talk about is lies. Lies either we told ourselves or pretty much we've been told for, I don't know, years on years on years on years from the beginning of time, pretty much. And the first one I want to talk about is something that we've all been through, every single person I know, and that is thinking that adults have it figured out. And that says kids. Now, once you become 18, you're still kind of new to this, and you don't know exactly what to do, so you're always like, oh, let me ask an adult, more adult person, hey, how do you do this? How do you do taxes? How do you, deal with this situation? And they're always, some people have answers. But then you find out real quick, hardly anyone knows what they're doing. We're all just a bunch of idiots trying to figure things out all at the same time, it seems like. It's quite literally been a conundrum that's been in my mind for years, that adults literally don't know anything more than what they're pretty much paid to learn. And another thing that kind of goes hand in hand is a little saying that I saw, which I can't remember where it's from, but it was hilarious. It's the fact that, everything before 18 was just a free trial, and once you hit 18, it is like pay to win. And that is about the most accurate way to explain life to anyone. Another one would be pretty much management being the most, applicable person for the job. Therefore, they would know more than you. There's many jobs where I've seen people get hired in from outside. They don't know a damn thing about what they got hired into. We'll just use an example. Office supply store. Guy got hired, we'll say, from McDonald's. And obviously, being a manager, a lot of things can cross over. Time management, doing schedules, trying to keep the peace, basic human skill, just stuff to be able to talk people down off the ledge type deal. Well, unfortunately, we had a supervisor, or I forget what they were called. I think they ended up becoming team leads is what they would call them in the future. But basically a small managerial role. And the person was hired in to cover essentially the tech area and print center. And the print center was it was held together by scotch tape, and the people that were running it actually knew what they were doing half the time. I mean, quite literally, they were competent to a certain degree. And this guy thought that he was going to be able to tell them how to do their job without any training whatsoever. He tried to do the whole, customer's always right spiel, but the problem was the situation could not be done because we didn't have, the ability to. We didn't have any way to ring it up, which could get people fired. We had none of the material because that was not existent back there. And this is the person that's supposed to help run it and supposed to help cover all that and supposed to know what's going on. And instead of listening to the team member, they just kept their head up their ass and kept going, well, you know what, I'm the manager and you got to listen to me. Needless to say, once a one step above him manager heard about that, they kind of told him, hey, you're dumb. Listen to them. At least read all the stuff that explains what we can and can't do. And that was the same thing would happen later. There was an IT job, just a small little IT job that he was directly over, by the way. And he didn't know anything about computers, so I had a basic understanding to get computers online. But basically, we had some bigwig dude that was head of this little tech part, which was computer work and stuff like that. He came down to interview everybody and in a group and just tried to make sure everybody was on the same page. I forget what the reason was, but we'll just call it an audit. And he was auditing everybody that was involved in it, and I was answering majority of the questions. He didn't. And he thought I was the manager, which was kind of funny. Not even making that up. And I had to explain to him, no, first off, not really old enough to be a manager. And he's the manager. He's like, well, you have not answered anything I've asked all day. So once everything was done, we went back to work. He went to talk to that manager. That manager, again, kind of got talking to. Or yet again, not knowing anything. And he had been there for just a few months. Don't get me wrong, not very long time. But at that point in time, he should have been somewhat competent in his job. Most of it was our sheets, printout sheets that you scan. He knew none of that. And it was simple words. I kid you not. It would just say, hey, this is for viruses. This is for, tuning up the computer. This is for this. This is for installation. It was simple stuff that he just didn't even read. And I can't even remember what he was doing back then at all. Because that was 14 years ago. Another thing that I've really, really hated was people trying to say, you can always talk to a higher up. Now, to a certain degree, that does work in quite a few places that I have worked. But I've noticed that there's a lot of places where if you talk to HR or a head manager, the top dog, the actual full, biggest area supervisor, some of them are only there to protect the company and the company's name or their higher ups. Because once they put people in place, a lot of the times these lower end managers will do a lot of the higher up managers' work. And the more work they do, the more praise they get, the more protection they get. It almost feels scummy, mafia-like, but they will protect their own. So if there's a problem with a team member, instead of actually dealing with it, they'll try to nitpick stuff to get them out the door. And I've seen that happen time and time again. There's a lot of times where I've seen, like, you know, the attire wasn't just right, and because that person, you know, aired out some grievances towards another manager, well, the higher manager literally told them, hey, you know what, that person's not wearing the exact right belt to a specification, and boom, wrote up. And HR was like, well, there's technicalities here. Technically, you are in the wrong, and we did deal with, you know, your complaint, and basically it's just a back and forth at that point. And that's stuff I've noticed happen in a lot of places I've worked, and I hate it. I wish that we would go back to where managers understood the floor work and actually were there for their people. Now, there's been a few furniture factories that I knew people went and worked at where some of the managers, their floor managers, they weren't, you know, the biggest of the big, but they were just, they had their groups, we'll call them group leads basically, but they had a different name. But these shop supervisors would come out to the floor and still help here and there. When they knew, hey, we're getting a little bit toppled over, we need a little extra hand, they'd come out there and go load like a trailer by themselves. Now, it may not be 100%, but they would load a majority of that trailer, be like, all right, y'all done with that one? Go ahead and jump and finish this one, and I'll go ahead and start trying to load the next one. They wouldn't be able to do a whole trailer on their own, but that little bit of help jumpstart the next job and the next job. Stuff like that would usually work. But then, in other places I've worked, they could not care less. They want to make sure you know that you are a peon, and you deserve literally the, you know, just the feel good that you get paid. And that's a horrible way to maintain things. Having a decent paying job is really hard to come by a lot of times. And for people to try to hold that over people's heads is really messed up. So yeah, I think the biggest lie as an adult is that management or HR is there for you. Like I've said, for the most part, HR and management is always there for the company. You got to keep the company's reputation up, and it keeps employment up, and it keeps you know, people purchasing the products out of their store, or purchasing, you know, said products out of the furniture factory, stuff like that. It keeps their product rolling when they have a good reputation. So the more they try to push disgruntled employees away and only have the people that are like quite literally okay with just being treated terribly, the better off they look, because then they're going to have these fake morales and all this. It ends up working out. And these are just a few things that came to mind. I just thought it was crazy and wild. I don't know if anybody relates to this, but that's basically like a lot of lies that you get told. Or a few lies. Let's say a few lies that I've been told or told myself from a kid up to an adult, which is, you know, adults haven't figured out. Managers are usually the most competent for the position. Yeah, that's usually not. And that HR or upper management is there to help you. The reason why you see a certain level of management being incompetent in their position is usually you have to be so competent to move up. And by the time you move into a position, normally people don't settle for their position. They like to move up one more step above their competency level. So it makes them look real stupid. And I can't say that's not true. I've seen plenty of people, it's like, all right, I'm a team lead. You think you could be a group lead? Oh, yeah, but I don't want to. No, you see people go, oh, I'll do it. And they'll get right at group leader, and then they look dumb because they are knowledgeable enough to get there, but not knowledgeable enough to do the job. And that's usually a huge case I see like left and right. But yeah, that's about all I got to say. Y'all have a good one.